Rain lashed against the windows, each droplet a tiny hammer against the glass, creating a symphony of chaos outside. Naghmeh watched the storm rage outside, a knot of anxiety forming in her stomach. The wind howled like a wild beast, and the trees bent under its relentless force. She could feel the tension in the air, as if the storm was a harbinger of something ominous. Her phone buzzed, the screen illuminating the room with an eerie glow. An unknown number. She hesitated for a moment, her mind racing with possibilities. Who could be calling her at this hour, in the middle of such a storm? She hesitantly answered, the voice on the other end a hushed whisper. It was almost drowned out by the sound of the rain, but she could make out the words. The old villa at the edge of the woods. He needs you. The words sent a chill down her spine. The old villa was a place she had tried to forget, a place filled with memories she had buried deep. The line went dead, leaving Naghmeh in a whirlwind of confusion and fear. She stared at the phone, her mind racing. Who was this? And what did they mean by he needs you? Who was this? And what did they mean by he needs you? The questions echoed in her mind, each one more unsettling than the last. She felt a sense of dread creeping over her, but also a strange compulsion to find out more. The words old villa echoed in Naghmeh's mind. It was a place she had not thought about in years. A place that held both fear and fascination for her. The villa was a relic of the past, abandoned and forgotten by most, but not by her. It was the abandoned one at the edge of the Whispering Woods, a place of local legends and childhood fears. The woods were said to be haunted, and the villa was the epicenter of those ghostly tales. As a child, she had heard countless stories about the villa, each one more terrifying than the last. She had not thought about it in years. The memories came flooding back, each one more vivid than the last. She remembered the dares, the whispered secrets, and the nights spent huddled under blankets, listening to the wind howl through the trees. The part of her didn't want to go, to dismiss the call as a prank, but another part of her, the part that was curious and brave, wanted to know the truth. She felt a tug of war within her, torn between fear and curiosity, but the urgency in the voice, the sheer desperation, tugged at her conscience. She couldn't ignore it. She had to know. She had to see for herself. The thought of someone needing her, someone in distress, was enough to push her into action. She had to know. She had to see for herself. Grabbing her raincoat, Naghmeh stepped out into the stormy night, her heart pounding in sync with the rhythm of the rain. The cold wind bit at her skin, but she pressed on, driven by a sense of duty and curiosity. Grabbing her raincoat, Naghmeh stepped out into the stormy night, her heart pounding in sync with the rhythm of the rain. The streets were deserted, the storm having driven everyone indoors. She felt a sense of isolation, but also a strange sense of purpose. As she drove, the wind howled like a banshee, and the old forest flanking the road swayed ominously. The headlights of her car cut through the darkness, illuminating the twisted branches and the rain-soaked ground. Each mile brought her closer to the villa, and her apprehension grew with each passing moment. Each gust of wind, each flash of lightning heightened her apprehension. The storm seemed to be growing more intense, as if it was trying to warn her away. But she couldn't turn back now. She had to see this through. What was she walking into? Was this some cruel joke, or was she truly stepping into a real-life mystery? The questions gnawed at her, but she pushed them aside. She had come this far, and she wasn't going to turn back now. Despite her fear, a strange sense of determination propelled her forward. She felt a connection to the voice on the phone, a sense of responsibility. She couldn't let fear stop her. She had to find out the truth. Maybe it was the adrenaline coursing through her veins, or maybe, just maybe, it was the faint flicker of hope in her heart, hope that she could make a difference, that she could help someone in need. Whatever it was, it gave her the strength to keep going, to face the unknown with courage and determination. The old villa loomed before her, a skeletal silhouette against the stormy sky. The clouds churned and roiled, casting ominous shadows that danced across the crumbling structure. Thunder rumbled in the distance, a low growl that seemed to emanate from the very heart of the villa itself. Its broken windows, like vacant eyes, stared out at her, sending shivers down her spine. Each shattered pane seemed to hold a story, a fragment of the past that had been left behind. The wind howled through the empty frames, creating an eerie symphony that echoed through the night. The once grand facade was now consumed by creeping vines and decay, a testament to years of neglect and whispered tales of tragedy. The ivy clung to the walls like desperate fingers, as if trying to hold the villa together against the relentless march of time. The stonework, once pristine, was now cracked and weathered, bearing the scars of countless storms. As she stepped out of the car, the wind seemed to whisper her name. Naghmeh, Naghmeh. It was as if the villa itself was calling to her, drawing her in with an irresistible pull. The trees swayed and rustled, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands, adding to the sense of foreboding that hung in the air. She shone her flashlight into the darkness, its beam cutting through the gloom, momentarily pushing back the shadows that clung to the villa like spectral guardians. The light revealed glimpses of the villa's former glory, now hidden beneath layers of dust and decay. Each flicker of the beam seemed to uncover another secret, another piece of the puzzle that was the villa's history. Taking a deep breath, Naghmeh approached cautiously. Her footsteps were hesitant, each one echoing in the stillness of the night. The path to the villa was overgrown and uneven, making her progress slow and deliberate. She could feel the weight of the villa's history pressing down on her, a palpable presence that seemed to watch her every move. The rusty gate groaned in protest as she pushed it open, the sound echoing in the stillness of the night. It was as if the gate itself was reluctant to let her pass, a guardian of the secrets that lay within. The hinges creaked and moaned, adding to the symphony of eerie sounds that surrounded her. Each step towards the villa felt heavier than the last, as if she were walking into the jaws of a sleeping beast. The ground beneath her feet was soft and yielding, as if it too was trying to hold her back. The villa loomed larger with each step, its dark silhouette growing more imposing and menacing. The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, a pungent aroma that spoke of forgotten memories and secrets buried deep. The ground was littered with decayed leaves and fallen branches, remnants of the villa's once grand gardens. Each step stirred up the scent of rot and mildew, a reminder of the passage of time and the inevitability of decay. Her heart pounded in her chest, a drumbeat of fear and anticipation. What awaited her inside? The villa seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for her to make the first move. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional creak of the trees and the distant rumble of thunder. The oak door creaked open, revealing a cavernous hall swallowed by darkness. The sound echoed through the empty space, a haunting reminder of the villa's former grandeur. The darkness seemed to press in on her, a tangible force that threatened to overwhelm her. Dust motes danced in the faint moonlight that filtered through the gaps in the boarded-up windows. The light cast eerie shadows on the walls, creating a ghostly tableau that seemed to come to life before her eyes. Each step she took stirred up more dust, adding to the sense of abandonment and neglect. Despite the eerie silence, Naghmeh could almost hear the echoes of the past, whispers of laughter and sorrow, of lives lived and lost within these crumbling walls. The villa seemed to hold 1,000 stories, each one waiting to be uncovered. The air was thick with the weight of history, a palpable presence that seemed to watch her every move. Her hand trembled as she reached for the light switch, but it was no use. The villa had long since surrendered to the darkness, its secrets hidden in the shadows. The switch clicked uselessly, a reminder of the villa's abandonment and decay. The villa had been surrendered to darkness long ago. The rooms were empty and silent, filled only with the echoes of the past. The darkness seemed to press in on her, a tangible force that threatened to overwhelm her. Undeterred, she took a step inside, her flashlight her only companion. The beam of light cut through the darkness, revealing glimpses of the villa's former glory. Each step she took was a journey into the past, a step closer to uncovering the secrets that lay hidden within the villa's walls. The air was thick with anticipation, a sense of impending discovery that drove her forward. The air inside was heavy with dust, thick and almost tangible, as if the very atmosphere had been frozen in time, and the musty odor of decay. Cobwebs spun thick like shrouds hung from every corner, remnants of the spiders that had claimed this forgotten place as their own. The webs seemed to tell stories of their own, tales of abandonment and neglect. Naghmeh moved through the rooms, each one a tableau of faded grandeur and encroaching ruin. The once opulent wallpaper now peeled away in long, curling strips, revealing the bare, cracked plaster beneath. Furniture lay draped in dust covers, their once vibrant colors now muted with age. The silence was almost deafening, broken only by the occasional creak of the floorboards under her cautious steps. She found herself drawn to a particular room at the end of the hallway, its door slightly ajar. The light from her flashlight cast eerie shadows on the walls, making the room seem even more mysterious and foreboding. A chill ran down her spine as she pushed it open, her flashlight beam illuminating a small dusty table in the center of the room. The air felt colder here, as if the room itself held its breath, waiting for her to uncover its secrets. On the table lay a single photograph, face down. It seemed out of place, a stark contrast to the otherwise untouched and forgotten surroundings. Her heart pounded as she reached for it, her fingers brushing against the smooth surface. The photograph felt cool to the touch, almost as if it had been waiting for her. As she flipped it over, her breath caught in her throat. It was him, Arad. The sight of his face brought a flood of memories rushing back, each one more vivid than the last. His eyes, the same warm brown eyes she remembered, stared back at her, a flicker of sadness in their depths. Those eyes had once been filled with laughter and love, but now they seemed to hold a silent plea. He looked younger in the picture, his face free of the worry lines that time and hardship had etched into his features. The photograph captured a moment of innocence, a time before the world had weighed so heavily on his shoulders. A wave of longing washed over Naghmeh, a mix of pain and yearning for what had been lost. She could almost hear his voice, feel his presence beside her, as if he were reaching out to her from the past. But it was the message, scrawled on the back of the photograph, that sent a fresh wave of fear through her. The words were hurried, almost frantic, as if written in a moment of desperation. "They took me. Warehouse district. North End. Beware the shadows." The message was chilling, a stark reminder of the danger that Arad was in. The words, written in a hand she recognized as Arad's, were stark, desperate. They spoke of a perilous situation, one that he had been unable to escape from on his own. They were a plea for help, a message sent from a place of fear and captivity. Naghmeh's mind raced as she tried to piece together the fragments of information. Suddenly, the phone call, the urgency in the whisper, all of it made terrifying sense. The voice on the other end had been Arad's, filled with a fear that she now understood all too well. Arad was in danger, and she had to find him. The realization hit her like a physical blow, leaving her breathless and determined. But who were they? And what shadows was he warning her about? The questions swirled in her mind, each one more pressing than the last. Her mind raced, fear battling with a fierce determination to rescue the man whose image she held in her trembling hands. She knew she couldn't do this alone, but she also knew she couldn't wait. She wouldn't let him down. She had to find him, and she had to do it fast. With a deep breath, she steeled herself for the journey ahead, knowing that every second counted.